let's finally tackle Highlander.
Oh, here it is.
Here we are,
It's
The
what the
fantasy
audience has
action
finally been
adventure
waiting
movie.
for.
the greatest horror movie ever made.
The 1986 fantasy action adventure. Non-horror.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I brought this up on pod or if it was like in a banter offline. But a fact about it was Christopher Lambert had to learn English, how to speak English for this role, for this specific role.
Yeah, I remember you did mention that. And I
Prior
did
to
not know that. That is pretty interesting.
prior to this, he like spoke French or whatever,
Hmm.
and that's
So do you
why.
want to describe it, or I can describe it? It's I didn't write down the synopsis, but there's these immortal beings that are all over the world, and when they have to kill they can only die by getting their heads cut off, and when one of them kills another one, then they get all their power.
Called
And
The
then there's
Quickening.
supposed to be a gathering in, was it New York City at this time, where
Yeah.
the last remaining ones are going to get there and fight each other,
Yeah, they're all
and there can
drawn
be
to a
only
certain
one.
spot. When you
What's that?
absorb, I said they're all drawn to a certain spot. It happens to
Hmm.
be New York, but yeah, when they absorb powers, it's all. They also call it the quickening.
Yes, yes. Yeah, here's a fact that I wrote down is that people who have never heard of the movie before, they know the line "There can be only one," and that is from Highlander, and that that inserted itself into pop culture. So that's crazy that even people that have no idea that the movie exists, they know that line.
Yeah, most people associate it now with other movies that have quoted that line.
Mm,
Dude, that's the
yeah,
thing is like when you ask people, they're like, "Oh yeah, you like that movie?" And they're like, "Yeah," and they'll list like a completely different movie entirely. You're like, "No, that's not what I'm talking about."
yeah. Did you guys
So
ever
it's
watch the TV show?
I did.
no, I
I was a
didn't.
big
Yeah, I
Highlander
watched
fan.
the TV show a lot whenever I was a kid, and I think the quickening event is a lot less emphasized in the show because I believe how much power it put out. Like it cracked the parking structure, and all the cars got blown, back and dented and tore up and stuff. Like I didn't remember that being that powerful.
It's a it's a, it's a good series. People people kind of shit on number two. It's like the Halloween 3 of the franchise where you're like, this has nothing to do with the fucking story. Like it's kind of disregarded. But the first time I seen the first one was a lot like when I seen Halloween 2, although I didn't stay obsessed with it like I did Halloween. But I was like, it's what alerted me to like the theory or the idea of immortals or being immortal.
Mhm.
And I was like, I would love to live forever.
And only be able to die in battle if I get my head cut off.
Yeah.
So I thought that this movie was hilarious. The first scene or whatever he's at it's like a wrestling match. Oh yes, the wrestling match, and
Yes.
that did feature some real wrestlers. I wrote their names down. It was Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, Buddy Roberts, Sam Fatu, who is Rikishi's brother, Jim Brunzel, and Greg Gangi.
Gagne.
Gagne. There you go. So yeah, there were real wrestlers participating in that event, and then I guess he was tracking or being drawn there, and there was another being there, and they have a fight in the parking garage. And after he wins the fight, the quickening happens. It cuts to him in his car, just like hauling ass out of the parking garage. And I gotta say, whoever did that driving is fantastic because of how tight parking garages are. And it was like a dash cam showing him drive through it, so he was really doing it, and it was some impressive driving. He was hauling ass, and I'm like, why is he driving so fast? And then as soon as he exits, there's all these cops pull up and they block him out. And I'm like, okay, so he's going fast because the cops are on the way. Like, but how do the cops know to go there? How are they there so fast? as soon as they stop him, they get out, they have their guns out. Like, how do you know that's the guy that did something? Like, what's going on here? There's a lot of presumptions in that scene, and I was cracking up at it. Then there's a good part of the interrogation that I can't repeat here, but it's very funny and definitely not something that you could film nowadays.
Oh, you could film it. It's just it would upset a small minority that sound like they're the majority.
The small minority, it's the most powerful of this.
They're the most
type of
vocal. They're the most
Yeah.
vocal because the majority is like, I don't fucking care. Shut up and go away. Nobody gives a fuck about you.
I thought it was pretty funny though. Okay, I do have some bullet points here. The budget for Highlander was 19 million. All right. So you remember we said Brightburn had a $6 to $7 million budget
Yeah.
in 2021 or 2020, whatever it was. This had a $19 million budget in 1986. Maybe that is changed for inflation though, so it didn't specify that. But how much do you think this movie brought in at the box office? $19 million budget.
Just box office, like not counting
I think it's
DVD after sales.
No, it's worldwide box office.
Here's the thing that I
$102
thought.
million.
I don't think it's a whole lot because I know it got popular after theaters. But I know it was slightly popular, but it became really popular on video.
You forget though. That's also when movies used to stay in theaters a lot longer. So
that's true
if
too.
word of mouth got out and people were like, hey man, you gotta go see this. This is better than anybody thought it was gonna be. They might have been able to gain more money than you thought.
Yeah, but movie tickets were also like $2 or $3.
Oh, they were. Well, I mean, some, yeah. But if you went to
I'm pretty sure you get a movie ticket for $5 whenever I was in high school. So yeah. 1986. It doesn't sound out of the question that it'd be $2-3.
No, it's not out of the norm.
How much do you think, Arlie?
I'd put it at like 85.
Well, you guys are gonna be shocked when I tell you this number. $12.8 million.
Oh.
No, it only made 75% of its budget. Which is crazy because I've always known about Highlander. So yeah, I was shocked to hear that. I would have thought that it brought more. I would have thought because it's just something I've always known about that everybody knew about it, I guess. I don't know.
It got popular after.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not shocked about that. I was with the way you were hyping it up, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be like a higher number. But I would say
I'm glad you got that impression.
I did. You got me. You fooled me, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
I would imagine though that the total gross profits now would be like fucking huge.
Mm-hmm. See, I've seen the second one once, maybe. I've seen the first one a few times. I watched the show a lot. Never seen any of the other ones, even though like the fourth or fifth Highlander, they actually have Duncan MacLeod from the show in it, and I was excited when I heard about that, but I never seen it.
That was a Highlander Endgame.
Yeah, so I might check that one out because I love Duncan MacLeod. Christopher Lambert as Connor MacLeod, Clancy Brown as the Kurgan. What do you guys think about that character?
I love the Kurgan and I love Clancy Brown, and I can't picture anybody else playing that role but him.
Mm-hmm. I wanted Clancy Brown to be Cable. I thought he would have made an excellent Cable.
He could be. He's a little on the older side for
older anyway, so
he could play an older version.
And Cable's an old man anyway. So yeah, Josh Brolin was I mean, he was aged up, in that role. So I thought Clancy Brown would have been perfect though. He's tall. And also the name that he went by in this time was Victor Kruger. I thought that was cool, and I love that character. And that brings me to this nightmare that I had that I told you about. That I had. And a scene similar to this plays out in Brightburn when he takes him to the woods to kill him. I'll tell you. So I used to work at a pizza place. So in this dream, I walk into work and I'm walking towards the back, and then all of a sudden, like the light. It's daytime, and then just cloud cover and thunder and lightning. And the Kurgan walks out the back, and I hadn't seen Highlander in 20 years at this point, so I have no idea where this came from. The Kurgan walks out the back, very menacing, very intimidating. And in that moment, I kind of had, maybe a half realization, like this is a dream. So I'm like, I'm gonna fight this guy. I'm gonna have a battle right now. So he walks up, and I approach him, and I reach back with everything I had, and I laid into him. Didn't flinch, and he just starts laughing, and I was like, sorry, man, I'm sorry. And then he goes to give me a big boot, and that's when I woke up. It was so funny though. But then it kind of happens in Brightburn when he shoots Brandon in the back of the head, and Brandon turns around, and he's like, sorry, Brandon, sorry. But like I was actually like laughing too, like an awkward laugh, like in the dream. Yeah, that's great.
That's a good dream.
Okay, Sean Connery. Do you remember his character's name, Casey?
Oh man, with all the stuff going on over this last couple weeks, man, like I said, I barely got a chance to.
That's true. It has been a while since we watched it. Arlie, do you remember his name?
I know there's like 4 names, but all I know him as is Ramirez.
Yes, we got the famous Spanish actor Sean Connery, who plays Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. And I thought for some reason, I remembered him being Highlander's dad. I don't know why.
No.
But he definitely wasn't. What do you think his end game was? Because like he was one of them as well. So was he planning on him and Connor being the last ones and having to fight it out?
Throughout
Yeah, I think so.
throughout the series, there are. I mean, you're talking about movies after this one, so it's like kind of, I don't know, going back on the original premise. But like later on in further movies, there are ones that don't want to kill or take place in, in it.
Yeah,
They leave themselves
that makes
out.
sense. Because that's another point I was going to bring up, is that it's supposed to come down to the last one in this movie, and then there's a TV show and 5 other movies or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you knew how that went down.
Oddly enough, he returns in the second one.
In flashbacks or in real time?
In real time.
Really? Oh, wow.
It's a bizarre
I don't
movie.
remember. It's been so long since I watched it. I'll have to check that one out. But yeah, so the story is told in present time and flashbacks. We get the flashbacks. We see Connor McLeod finding out that he is an immortal, and meeting Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, and he's training him. He's telling him the lore, and he's training him. And then they have some battles with the Kurgan. The Kurgan ends up getting the best of Ramirez. Man, he is such a good character, the Kurgan, because the way that he talks about the stuff that he does and stuff like that. Also some part I remember is when he steals that car and that lady's in the seat and he's like, "Mom," like what? How does he have the right to be that funny with the stuff that he does?
You stole it. I was going to bring up that scene.
Oh, really?
I was going to say oddly enough, that's my favorite scene in the whole movie. And
I always remembered that. Yeah,
just the way he says it too, when it's all like, "Mom."
I remembered him like putting his arm around her and pulling her in and kissing her on the cheek though too, but I don't think he did that, right?
No, he sits in and he kind of just like looks over at her like that. And he's like, "Mom." She's like, "Ah."
It's so funny. But yeah, what a good character. Does the Kurgan ever come back in the series?
No.
No. And he had a good fight with that other immortal in New York City. I don't remember his name. But they had a good fight. But I enjoyed the movie. It's definitely dated in the way that it looks and the visuals and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it. I understood it a lot more than I ever did because I only ever watched it as a kid. So I half tuned out during the flashbacks because I was never really into, sword fight. I mean, I know the whole thing is sword fighting, but that era, the medieval era, riding on horses into battle and sword fighting and stuff like that, I was never really into that stuff. so I
Yeah.
kind of tuned out during those portions.
Yeah, that is a boring type of movie to watch. That's why I don't watch like Braveheart. People are like, "This is a great
I like
movie."
Braveheart, but it's so long. I haven't watched it in forever. I take them on a case by case basis, but it's going to take something for me to watch it in the first place. Like I'm just not interested in that, and like a Conan type stuff too. I don't know what type of the Sword and Sandal or whatever they're called. Just never really been drawn to it. That and like mafia movies. Even though I have seen some and I like them, it just takes me something extra to get me to watch it. Somebody else I know wants to watch it and say, "Hey, do you want to watch this movie with me?" Something like that.
Yeah, you gotta be in the
Yeah.
mood.
Yeah, and there's never really a mood for me. It just depends on if somebody else wants me to watch it, I guess.
Yeah. For the longest time, I thought I was the only one that never watched The Godfather. And then I was like watching an episode of Family Guy, and Seth MacFarlane comments the same thing that I had a struggle with in that scene when they're all talking in the room together, and then he just checks out. I was like, that's exactly the same thing I have. It's so drawn out and boring at times that it's like, I don't know. I
Yeah, I
can't get
won't
myself.
judge it. I remember we started to watch it one time back in the old apartment, and I remember the horse head scene. But we were all talking and stuff like that, and it was kind of just drowned out in the background eventually. But yeah, I've never seen any of those. Never seen like Casino or Heat or anything like that. I've seen The Departed. That's a good movie.
Art is good.
Really good.
Those other movies aren't for us. They're for our parents
That's true.
to sit and tell us like, you don't know good movies. You never seen The Godfather, the greatest gangster movie ever. Like, okay, Dad.
I
Whatever.
did see. I was over visiting with my mom and my stepdad one day, and he was watching. I think it was Goodfellas, and so I caught like 20 minutes of that, and I thought it was pretty good. So I might, watch that full movie eventually. I liked the little bit that I saw.
Mrs. Chavez?
Yeah,
How is she?
she's good. She's doing all right.
Is she?
Yeah,
Been a while.
it has been a while. It's been a long while. You should pop up and surprise her one day,
I might
like
do
you did
that.
the first time you met. All right, so we got to also mention that they had music by Queen in the movie. They did a lot of original music for the movie. Great theme song.
Freddie Mercury was like really
Soundtrack.
into that movie too. Like he liked the concept and what he's seen and everything. That's why they did they probably did what was it, 4 or 6 songs
Something like that,
for
yeah.
the soundtrack? Like
Yeah.
almost half of it are just Queen songs that they wrote.
hmm Yeah,
Like
like specifically for the movie, which I thought
yeah.
was cool because I always thought that they just used Queen songs, but I didn't realize that they wrote them for the movie. So I thought that was pretty cool.
We
So, what do
got
you guys think of the movie overall? Are we going to give a rating on this one?
I didn't
um
know who wanted to start.
it's hard to like, what are we rating it against? Are we rating
I
it
don't
against
know. And I was
anything?
also thinking we should expand our rating scale to 10 instead of 5 because it's just too tight with 5.
Yeah,
Oh,
because I keep
I feel
wanting to
like
give more movies like the
yeah, they
same
end up getting the
rating.
same score, because there's just not a lot of wiggle room.
I'll give it a solid 8. Mom,
Damn it, I was gonna say mom.
I beat you to it. All right, I'll change it.
Eight?
I'll
No,
change
no, no,
it.
you have it. You have it. Yeah.
You could have it.
I'll give
I'm
it
thinking
a
of something else.
solid 7.5. There can be only ones.
Damn it, that was my second choice.
I know. That's why I took it. I was like, I'm gonna
All right,
take it.
no,
I
I'm good.
want it.
I'm good because I'm gonna give it to my man. I'm also gonna say 7.5 Kurgans. I'm gonna go with Kurgan. I like it. It's a good movie. It's like I said, dated, but I would watch it again.
Yeah.
He's a great villain. Like
He is.
if they came out with a movie that just focused on him as a villain, like I would love watching that.
But do you think it would have to be Clancy Brown though, right? Do you think anybody else could do it? I mean, if there's somebody who is really into it and dedicated, that I'd give somebody else a chance for sure. But it can't be. Um, I don't even know. I don't even know things I want to throw out. But like a Henry Cavill, like when he gets into something, like it's because he likes the source material and
Yeah.
he wants to do a good representation. So like if it was somebody like that, I would definitely want to give somebody a chance.
I think they could do like what they did with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, where they just digitized him and had the younger version of him walking around.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't need to be
But
like
Clancy Brown's voice, though, I mean,
they could use.
I think it's an iconic role from him, and he was in Starship Troopers also, wasn't he?
He was.
That's a
He was one of the sergeants,
that's a
but
cool connection there.
he could still do the voice. I'm just saying, like for looks, they could digitally
Yeah,
like
like
de-age
like
him.
he needs to at least be the voice.
Yeah, because when you switch from being human to the immortal, whatever age you are, that's the age you stay. Like you
But
stop.
what do you guys think about the fight scenes? Maybe we
Um,
should have talked about this before we gave it a rating, but
I mean they're definitely like dated. Like if you
Yeah,
compare them
I was
to
gonna say slow
today's fight
pace,
scenes,
kind of.
you
Yeah,
know, people of today, if they go back and watch it that are used to a John Wick fight scene, are gonna look at that and be like, "This is slow. This is slow and
yeah.
boring." But like
It's funny that
for
you say John Wick. I was gonna bring up The Matrix because anytime I think of like a fast paced, I know that they do a lot of
yeah,
shit like
bullet
that,
time,
but for the most part, like it's also like
action
that's
packed.
technically high speed.
Yes,
It's like all like
yeah. Yeah, they're definitely a little slower, but I think they were good for what they were, and I enjoyed the last fight, how they had the stage, the set like tearing apart and stuff like that. There was a
yeah.
lot of practical stuff in there, and impressive to be able to shoot around that and have all that stuff happening while you're still filming and stuff like that. So it was planned out pretty nicely.
I also don't think like I don't think a fast paced sword fight would be as interesting as people like
no.
you know
Shooting and
Plus, you
doing
got to think
karate.
about
trying
the era too. Like they were using a lot of different types of like a lot of heavier weapons. So maybe they purposely were trying to like mimic like what it would. Because you think about it, they're not really using real weighted swords. They're foam. It's all
Mm-hmm.
it's all just manufactured. But maybe they were trying to like make it seem like there was like a heavier.
That's true
They
too.
were
But
just
yeah,
for
so
the like
if
realistic
you're gonna get
side of it.
discouraged by watching fight scenes like that, then you won't like it. But if you can still appreciate it for what it is, then you will like it. It's good.
if you don't like it, we don't like you.
We
Right?
got two
Right.
words for you.
Is it second?